I get people are really struggling at the moment to find work. That would suck. It'd be a terrible position to be in. But you're ruining your reputation by doing that. And it shows.
The system is so fucked. It's so painful to use, especially with how easy it is to apply on LinkedIn. I would never put something up on LinkedIn.
It's a really broken system at the moment. And anybody that has posted a job advert in software or tech has probably had a really bad experience.
If you're going to use a recruiter, that doesn't mean that you just fully give up. You still have to run a recruitment process. A recruiter is just going to help you, but you need to work out that you're hiring a recruiter. So you need to be serious about the work that you put into that. We are back with another episode of the Do As I Say, Not As I Did podcast, where we answer real questions and sometimes insane questions from Reddit about growing a startup. And today we're joined by my friend Brodie Cummins, the owner and director of teraDigital, a niche recruitment and advisory firm focused deeply in the software and tech world. Brodie cares a lot about the space and spends a lot of time creating resources and content to educate the community. He even hosts a surfing meetup for people in tech, a meetup I've never felt so embarrassed to be at, but fun nonetheless. So let's jump into it. Brodie, welcome. Thanks so much for coming on today, mate.
Oh, mate, that was a nice intro. Very nice intro.
I do my best, but awesome, man. Well, let's jump into the questions. This first challenge is called, what are the quality of applications currently like? Most PM job offerings will hit 100 applications within an hour or two being posted. This makes me think that the majority of them are bots, quick appliers, or completely unqualified. Are there really that many qualified people out there submitting applications these days? This is from teraDigital.
Yeah, 100%. It's a really broken system at the moment. And anybody that has posted a job advert in software or tech since really probably mid-2023 has probably had a really bad experience with direct applicants. Most of the deals getting done at the moment are through referrals from staff. I'd actually like to look at the hard numbers of people that are actually hiring from a job ad response, honestly. And the reason being is there's a total oversupply of candidates on the market right now, and there's not enough jobs. I think things are slowly changing this year. They have to. We've been in this down period for nearly 2 years, come April. But I'll give you an example. So I recently listed a software engineering role for a UK health tech startup. Salary goes up to 350k plus super. And as you could imagine,
That's fucking wild, dude.
They want the best of the best. They want the cream of the crop, right? And that money in Australia gets you that. As you could imagine, though, literally within an hour, I had over 1,000 applicants directly through my website, 1,000. And I don't know what the number is now. I posted that on Tuesday. And I had over 150 DMs on LinkedIn, right? Jesus. Mainly from first connections. So what percentage of the people that applied and reached out to me directly, who I've got a relationship with, that were actually suitable for the role, actually read the job advert, had to think about their experience, followed the instructions, so pitched me 3 bullet points to why they were a good fit. Guess how many?
On the people who message you on LinkedIn, I reckon it's higher. I reckon 10 of the people who message you on LinkedIn, and of the people on the website, probably 50.
It was lower in the people that DM'd me directly.
Really?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Why waste your time?
And, people asking questions like, is the role remote? When it was clearly stated 3 times. Or
what was the numbers?
What do you mean?
How many message you that were actually?
I can't remember, but there was a few, right? Yeah. And other things like, hey, I'm interested. Just these terrible inbound messages. And it's, I get people are really struggling at the moment to find work, and, that would suck. It'd be a terrible position to be in. But you're ruining your reputation by doing that. And it shows a complete lack of self-awareness and problem solving, and it doesn't reflect well on you. So absolutely, I think that experience is what a lot of people are having directly posting adverts. And then what happens, right? It gets too hard to sort of manage it, so they don't reply to any of the candidates that have applied. Some of those candidates could actually be really good fits, but they're getting glossed over. And so it leads to a terrible candidate experience, terrible employer experience. And that's why it's broken. And that's why I think a lot of people now like are turning to recruiters because they don't want to, they know how much work it is to advertise directly now, and you've got to manage your brand. So by you not responding to those 100 people, that's 100 people that probably will not be interested in you in the future. At least the ones that aren't bots or sort of just, you know, applying to stuff
Spamming.
willy-nilly and that sort of thing. And that does happen. But you've got to have a way, a system when you're doing it directly to filter that through so you don't miss out on some potential gems in there. And I'm speaking to great candidates, very placeable candidates, candidates that were in demand 2 years ago, you know, that had a plethora of opportunities at their door that are struggling to find work at the moment. It's crazy. And I haven't seen things change yet. I think they will. All the macro headwinds are really positive. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard to deal with it. Have you had that experience hiring directly?
Yeah, I don't put job ads up. I exclusively don't. Like some people on my team do, and I tell them, I said, I think you're going to waste a shitload of time here. But if you want to, it's up to you. I love to make the decision. But I personally, whenever I'm doing my own hiring, I will not use like posting job ads.
Yeah.
My approach to hiring is like I will always go through my network first.
Yep.
See if anyone I know or if there's probably connection through my network. I'll shoot for that. My second thing is that I'll probably like find what I think is the ideal profile, and I'll probably do 50 to 100 reach outs myself on LinkedIn to see if I can hit them up myself, and then I'll use a recruiter.
Yeah.
Because the reason I like to go through phases is that I want to make sure I truly understand what I'm shooting for. Because in the past, I've gone to recruiters too early, and then they brought me great candidates for what I thought I was looking for, and I'm only then realizing that's actually not what I need or what I want. So yeah, I think like the system is so fucked. It's like it's so painful to use. Like especially with like how easy it is to apply on LinkedIn, I would never put something up on LinkedIn. Like I'd maybe put a link to a different website so someone actually has to click out because that's something, right?
Yeah,
to
for
manage
sure.
on themselves. But it is crazy, especially with how easy it is to like apply en masse with AI tools now as well. It's like it's just insane.
But there's two sides of the coin. There's that side, which is the employer experience, but then there's also the candidate experience side. And companies are not thinking long term enough at the moment. Like if you give a candidate a bad experience, a good candidate that's generally applied for your role, done the work, and you don't hear anything, or you get this sort of generic response, there's no substance to it, it's really disheartening. And that person's not going to want to apply to you in the future. And then you're damaging your brand reputation. And when the market flicks back to being candidate driven again, you're going to have a really hard time hiring. Like it's
Yeah.
so.
No, that's a good point. That's just why I don't want to post because I think
You've got that. You've got to provide that service to everybody. You don't want to let people down. I think your approach is great. And whenever a client, comes to me and goes, "Hey, I've got this recruitment problem," I've always asked them, "Have you gone directly first?" And sometimes they don't have the time, so they see the value in just going to a recruiter straight away. But if they do have the time, or if they're a founder like yourself where budget's tight, you can't go spend 15, 20 grand on a recruiter, give it a go yourself, leverage your network and directly message people that you really like the look of. The downside of that is you got to pay a LinkedIn license to have that luxury, which is, it can be costly, particularly if you're not using it. But you've got to give that a go because then at least you exhaust your network. And then, like you said, you speak to a few candidates and you figure out, oh, actually, I'm looking for this or I'm looking for that. And if you're not successful, then you can go to a recruiter with a clear brief. Yeah. That's really important. That's a great process.
Awesome, man. Well, to bring this one to a close, the question was, what are the quality of applications like currently? And Jen is like kind of shit. Like there are good applications out there, but there's just so many applications that they're lost. Borderline impossible to even find them in the sea. So
correct.
The system's kind of broken right now, and you have to work hard hiring is always hard, right? To do a good job in a market where there's not a lot of people or where there's too many people, it's still hard for different reasons. And to get the right person for your company, it's going to be a lot of work. So it's the current systems are just kind of crazy.
Yeah, and you couple that with employers using AI to screen candidates and do that upfront process, a little bit like we talked about offline. That's also damaging because you're going to miss people if you're reliant on AI potentially to screen through profiles that are just looking for keywords. Whereas somebody with market knowledge can pick up, oh, that company's actually got a really good reputation. whereas AI might not pick that up yet anyway. It probably will get better.
Awesome, man. Well, throw a like. You've been advised. And we'll move on to the next challenge. So I guess I got this one for you, Brodie, this next question, because you obviously do more hiring in the technical space. And I thought it was an interesting idea. So this question is called, how do companies evaluate seniority when hiring PMs or product managers? I'm curious about how startups assess the seniority or maturity of candidates when hiring for product manager roles in product or in PM-half roles. I don't know what that is. Anyways, what factors do you consider most important? How does the valuation differ in a startup environment compared to larger companies? This is from Critical Reply. So yeah, even I struggle with this still, right? Product management's a bit of a hard one in my mind, because it isn't like a super hard technical skill that you can just see.
It's a blend of a lot of different roles, and the challenge I have when I recruit PMs for people, every company has a different view of what a PM does. Yeah. That's the hard part. Like, for example, what does a PM mean to you? Just high level. What's a PM to you?
At a high level, a PM can understand, I guess they collect information, they collect data and an understanding of markets to understand, what needs to be done, what problems need to be solved. They then work out what are the best possible ways, to solve those. And then they get the right kind of craftspeople and builders to build them. Then they work out the quality of it, and then they help push that out. So they understand what needs to be done. They understand how to do it. They get it done. They ensure quality. Then they make sure it gets into the hands of people, and then they assess whether or not it was successful. So it's a big role. Like it's got a lot to do with like inter-team dynamics. You need to be able to like fight for shit. So you need to be a bit of an asshole sometimes. You need to be somewhat technically fluent to speak it through. Like it's a challenging role.
Yeah. So if I were to define as a generalist term for a PM, in my opinion, and this is definitely with a software product technology lens, right? I don't work for big corporates or enterprises and stuff. So a PM is that bridge in its most simple form between the business and the technical team. Okay. That's really like what a PM is at its core. Okay. Now, some companies that are in niche areas like real estate or finance, they'll actually look for people that come from those domains. It's pretty common in the real estate space to hire product managers that are ex-real estate agents or property managers. Okay. Finance, finding people that have worked in that world. You do see that quite a lot for niche areas. Generally, though, that doesn't really matter, I don't think, because any smart person can build a knowledge base within a particular area. So in terms of a startup, a PM will have to wear a lot more hats generally. So you don't have the luxury of a BA, probably a project manager, maybe even UX or design to an extent, though every startup their first hire should be a designer, in my opinion, but that's just my own preference. So in a startup, your product owner is talking to customers, most likely. They're getting that feedback. They're trying to figure out what's most important in terms of feature requests and right-sizing them, almost like a Scrum Master does in some respect, and then interfacing with the development team to go through that build process. So that's like a pretty end-to-end role, right? If we're looking into scale-up, and it depends what you define as scale-up, I'd say a scale-up is somebody that's probably going into Series A, Series B, Series C funding, and you're probably looking at 25 to 50 plus headcount. A product owner in those environments is probably not customer facing as much, because you probably have CX, customer success, and support doing a lot of that. But I see a product owner in those sorts of roles interfacing between more business units. So they're like the glue between systems, really. So they'll be engaging with leaders, they'll be engaging with, delivery staff, software, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a bit more of a multifaceted role as well. So long story short, I think what makes a product manager senior or a good hire in a startup and scale up, I actually think it's the same qualities, to be quite frank. It's just what they're focusing on changes quite a little bit.
I agree with that. I guess one thing I disagree with is that I think product people should always be customer facing. Like they need to always have like like a lens with the people who are using what they're building, so they truly understand it. Because I think it's so
Sure.
easy to lose that. But if you take that away, I think a point that it feels like we're dancing around here is that PMs. One of the most fucked things right now in startups is like PMs are still kind of new generally, and it's people have such different use cases for PMs in their business, and there can be everything from project managers like on one side through to like proper Silicon Valley style product led product manager on the other side as well. So understanding how your company does product is the most important thing in understanding how to gauge whether a PM will be successful in your org or not.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know how you do product, you're going to get someone who doesn't fit how you do it. There's just going to be a clash, and someone is going to be unhappy.
100%. And so when you're assessing people, so that's
Yeah.
the other side of the question, I guess, is how do you assess if somebody's going to be a good product hire? Obviously, number one is demonstrable evidence prior.
Yeah.
Pretty easy one. But in terms of like the actual skills and what to test for, communication skills, it's they've got to have strong comms. That's like number one. I also think like street smarts is really important. They need to be able to come in and read a room. They need to be able to understand in a meeting what's that sense of that customer, what's the temperature over here, and kind of come up with solutions accordingly, because they are interfacing with lots of different business units. And that's like I feel like those skills are relatively easy to test because it's through technical, well, not even technical, just Q&A, meeting them in person. Something that's really worked is scenario situations. So I've had a few clients before that will actually bring a product owner in for like half a day and just get them working in the team as if like they already work there, and just sort of testing, putting them on the spot. That's a really great way to really test a product manager. And then other things like I think their technical knowledge is, that's probably harder to assess because they're not a coder, so you can't give them the code challenge. But I think throwing sort of technical Q&A scenario star type questions to them can be a really good way to sort of ascertain what's their decision making process. How do they think about a problem and come up with a solution? And situational task, action, result styled questions are a very good way to sort of tease that out.
Yeah. All right. Well, I feel like, the kind of beats we're hitting on here are, one is just previous experience. If someone is new to product management, they're not going to be senior, and there's a lot to learn. And I think generally you and I are on the same page that I think it's easier to teach someone industry knowledge than it is to teach someone product management capabilities.
Well, it's a personality.
Yeah.
Like a product, like if I look at all the really good product managers I've met over the years, it's a personality, it's a feeling. It's almost like a really good office manager. A really good office manager, you come into the office, everything's fresh, there's music playing, they've created the vibe, you feel good, they greet everybody, they answer the phones really well. The really good product owners and managers I've met over the years have that sort of vibe. There's somebody that you love, like they're the most loved person in the office. Love to hate sometimes if you're in a difficult conversation with them. But that's, if I look at all the successful hires I made, they've had that sort of trait. That's my general sort of feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess like the way to measure these kind of traits and what you find would be a good PM in your situation and how senior they are, I think for me, it would be, what experiences do they have? And not just have they worked somewhere, but have they worked somewhere in a business that does product in a similar way to you doing it? Have they had success there? You can ask them that, like, what did you work on? What kind of product changes were made, and what were the kind of results from that? And if they don't know, they were probably a shitty product person. And then
correct.
like they need to have super strong communication. They need to have a super strong ability to kind of like understand complex ideas and make sense of them easily. So you should be able to have complex conversations with them, and they should be able to repeat it back to you in a really simple manner.
Yep.
And so conversation, questions around that kind of stuff. And then, scenario-based questions, I think will really work there as well. And I think through those things, you should be able to do it. I've never really seen a successful way to like do homework for product managers. I don't think that works. Like maybe some PRDs, you might get something out of that depending. But senior people, I think you should be able to gauge that seniority through conversation. More junior, I think that makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, 100%. And EQ is really important. And asking questions like, hey, where's the time that you fucked up and what went wrong and what have you learned from it? And that question is a good question to ask anybody, really, because you really figure out, okay, what's the EQ here? Can they take blame? I've had people generally that have answered that question and said, I've never fucked up before.
Oh my God.
100%. And that's a huge red flag to me because everybody stuffs up. Doesn't matter how good you are. And that emotional awareness. And to be fair, like I don't blame those people because maybe no one's ever asked them that question because not many people do. So you never thought about it. But that's another red flag because if you aren't constantly thinking about when you've stuffed up and how you would approach it better, that's a bad thing.
Yeah, self-awareness is kind of important in every role. That would be a flag for me in every person I was hiring. That's in our screening interview. That's in our screening interview. It says like, what are some mistakes you've made, or what are some of your weaknesses, and they need to be real. They need to be real, and we will push on until they give them to us, and if they don't, then we're just out. All right. Well, critical reply. You've been advised, and we'll move on to the last question, which I think is a fun question. All right, Brodie. Have you used a recruiter? Is it always bad? There's a lot of information out there about how terrible recruiters are, and no one seems to think you can trust them. I'm looking at using my first ever recruiter. Is it destined to be terrible? From Monkey Biz.
Well, I think that's on you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got my thoughts on it, right? Like,
that's on the individual.
Oh.
It's on the company. The company is responsible for how bad of experience they're going to have. You know what I mean? Like, and
I disagree with that straight away.
And I'll tell you my point on it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think a lot of companies make really poor choices around the recruitment partners they go forward with. Okay. If you're a software and technology product company and you're using a large volume transactional recruiter, I'm not going to name names. We all know who they are.
I think we're thinking of the same people.
And you think you're going to get value, that's your biggest red flag. Number two, if you're using a panel of recruiters and you think that's going to get you success, and again, I'm talking about software product technology companies here, startups and scale-ups, you're not going to get success from that. If you're going to negotiate fees down for a recruiter when they don't voluntarily do it or negotiate every bit of their terms, you're not going to have success. So these are decisions that companies can make to really get the right partner. And I think that's where a lot of the failure comes from, is you choose the wrong partner to do your recruitment. And you have to go through your own process to select that recruiter.
Yeah, I still I disagree with the phrase of it all. So,
yeah,
I don't think using recruiters is always bad. I mean, the first bunch I used was terrible because I had no idea what recruitment was like. And it's actually hard to find a good recruiter.
Yeah.
But I think there are a bunch of shit recruiters out there, and I think there are a bunch of great recruiters out there. And I think, as always, you need to understand your company culture, your company values, the way you operate, and find recruiters that better suit that.
Yeah.
And it's really easy at the beginning to trust big names, right? Oh, I see this brand. If you see the brand and it's big, it's probably bad if you're a startup, right? As a startup, you need those companies who are small, who are hungry, who are going to go above and beyond and do the unscalable shit.
Yeah.
And the first recruiter I ever used that was successful was you, Brodie, but I did heaps of shit wrong that you just said. Like, I negotiated the terms down like fucking massive. Like, every term I fought on fees, and I fought on every term because I wanted longer probation periods and I wanted lower fees because I had to. But at the end of the day, it felt like we were negotiating like a partnership for the future, and it became like the strong partnership that went back for multiple roles and stuff like that. And like now when I have a role, I can go back to the same path, that I've run before. So I think there are terrible recruiters, and I think terrible recruiters get a lot of airplay because they fuck people over. Like, I have a friend who was hiring a role, and he had someone in the team got tapped on the shoulder for the same role. Like, and I was like, he was already fucking working for them. I was like, that's so crazy. Like, so like the recruiters going out, like trying to poach from the same company and stuff like that. So it's like, I think there are shitty recruiters out there, and that's true. But like a little bit of research out there about who's used them before is we'll find that for you. I think if you find recruiters kind of like a similar stage to you, who are like small and niche consultative, partners in the space, I think are a whole lot better. And just sit down and have conversations with people. Like,
yeah,
I've sat down and like, if you're going to use a recruiter, that doesn't mean that you just fully give up. You still have to run a recruitment process. A recruiter is just going to help you, but you need to work out that you're hiring a recruiter. So you need to be serious about the work that you put into that.
100%. Yeah.
And if you're happy to put the work in, I think you can find good recruitment partners. But if you don't, I think you'll get fucked.
Mate, look, I'm defending the industry because I think, I'm really passionate about recruitment, and I believe in the value that I bring to my clients, and I take it very seriously. So when people bash the industry, I don't like it, and I'm going to protect my industry. The reason why I think people have bad experience again is that qualification up front.
Yeah.
Not doing the due diligence, and it's very easy to do the due diligence. Go to a LinkedIn, go to the profile of that recruiter and have a look at the recommendations. Any recruiter worth their salt proactively gets recommendations. Don't take their word for it. Ask the recruiter, hey, who are 3 of your top clients? Can I have a phone conversation with them? Nobody does that. Why would you not do that?
Yeah.
Go speak to my clients. Don't take my word for it. Don't take the 56 LinkedIn recommendations I've got. Talk to my clients and speak to them about the service I bring. Like, that's my value add. Yeah. And any recruiter that can't do that, I would think very seriously about whether you want to do business with them. But then also take into account referrals. If you've got somebody that's had a good experience with a recruiter and they refer your recruiter, that's also very valid. Very valid. But if you're just going out, Google tech recruiters, you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, that's true. I'd say on that though, that's the case with every service provider for a business. Like, accountants is a really good example.
Yeah.
Fuck, man, there's so many bad accountants that I've wasted so much money and time with. When you do the work and you find a good accountant, then like it changes everything. When you do the work and you find a good service provider with everything in your life, I think it's worth doing it. So yeah, I 100%.
Think, yeah.
Have I used Recruiter? Is it always bad? It's like, I've used Recruiter and it has been bad, but it's not always bad. I think it's bad when you don't know how to search for a recruiter. And I think if you're new and you've never done hiring before and you're going to a recruiter, you're probably going to have a bad time because you probably don't know how to find a recruiter, and you're still going to hire a shit person even with them because you just don't know how to hire, right? You get better at hiring over time.
Well, that's also, knowing what you're looking for, like your point earlier. That's really important as well. But a good recruiter will be able to tease that out from you and do calibration profiles. Hey, I think we're looking for this. Here's 3 people that I've found. Let's calibrate on them.
Yeah.
Like, that's what a good recruiter does. The other side of it too, right, is around long-term partnerships. So it's trying to figure out what you want from a recruiter. I've got clients that all they don't want me to contact them that often. I'm the person they call when they're in trouble, and that's our relationship. And that's what they want it to be because they're busy people, they're running businesses. They don't want to catch up for lunch on a quarterly basis. And I get that, whatever service is going to make you happy and be valued, a good recruiter can kind of mold their services to suit that. The other thing is, particularly in startup and scale-up land, is a good recruiter will be willing to sacrifice a little bit up front to be part of the journey with you. So there's been a number of startups that Simon and I have worked with over the years that we've actually sacrificed a bit on fees. We've made more flexible payment terms. We've considered taking equity in companies. We've looked at it a few times, but it's being that long-term partner. It's having skin in the game. It's being that person you can rely on to go the distance with you, and that's what you want in a really good recruiter. And our whole business is, our pitch to our clients is, we act as an extension of your business. I'm going out there and marketing your startup or scale up to the masses. I need to understand your story. I need to believe in it. And I'm going to be more passionate than you. Maybe not as passionate as you, but thereabouts. And that's what you want. You want somebody that's in the trenches with you. Like, that's what I get really excited about. And that's why I do not work with corporates or enterprises that want to use panels of recruiter. Hey, dear supplier. Hey, you can't speak to line managers. Everything's got to go through TA. It's broken recruitment. It's soulless. And that's why you have the big recruitment agencies that do that work. That's what they're built for. The high volume transactional stuff. Good luck to them.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're kind of on the same page, which is good, right? Which is that there are shitty recruiters. I don't think anyone's hiding that.
There's no barrier to entry. That's a problem.
Yeah. True.
There's no barrier to entry.
Yeah.
Anyone can become a recruiter. Yeah. Anyone. So there's no license or anything. There's not really a governing body. There kind of is one, but they don't really enforce much.
Yeah. The only barrier to entry is buying LinkedIn Recruiter.
Yeah, which is, $8,000 a year, but
Yeah.
that's not really a barrier.
No. And you can get away without it, to be honest, for the first
You
deal.
probably could. Yeah, 100%.
Well, so, is working with a recruiter destined to fail? Absolutely not. There are a ton of really good recruiters out there. You just got to find the right recruiter for you. So you just got to put the work in up front and look for the right signs, what they care about, who they work with, and have a chat to them, like recruiters are willing to sit down and have coffee with you. Get them to come to you, right? Get them to come to your office, get them to come to your home. Recruiters will do that, right? Because it's worth their time. So have the conversations and then do your checks, right? Just like you would check a previous employer, check a previous employer for a recruiter.
Yep, agreed.
Awesome. Well, Monkey Biz, you've been advised. And that's all the time we have for questions. So we'll move on to the last section of the show, which is plugs. So Brodie, what do you got going on? What do you want to plug?
Well, yeah, look, I took over the operations of teraDigital Services. So we're a niche recruitment and advisory firm that partners specifically with software and product technology companies. We've been around for about 10 years, founded by an amazing guy called Simon Mortimer, who's got loads of experience in tech, was recruiting COBOL and RPG developers back in London. So we've got a wealth of experience. We mainly service Southeast Queensland, but we're continually getting interest from interstate and overseas companies. And really our core mission is help our clients win the best talent in the market. That's really what we stand to do. And we've been on that mission for 10 years now.
I love it, man. And I personally use them, so I can give my personal referral right now that go hit up Brodie. And if you're surfing and you're in Southeast Queensland, hit up Brodie as well. And 100%. You can come to the surfing meetup. And even if you're shit at surfing, do it because you'll make me feel better.
Yeah, I was going to plug that. Southeast Queensland software/tech surfers meetup. WhatsApp group is on my link, or the link for the WhatsApp group is on my LinkedIn profile. So jump in, anybody, any stage. Love to have you. It's a good way to get out, go for a surf, have a coffee.
Love it. Well, we're going to wrap this one up. Brodie, thanks so much for coming on, man. Thank you for the conversation and the disagreements. I love that. I've loved the conversation. This has been another episode of the Do As I Say, Not As I Did podcast. We'll see you all next week.